Thank you. Thank you, Baylor. That was beautiful. And thank you to our band. Thank you so much. Beautiful song. Good morning. It's so good to see everybody. I always get tickled when I sit down because it's a little sparse. And then when I get up, it's like, whoosh, so many people have just shown up. And so it just always does my heart so much good to see everybody here. And as Mitch said, here we are in the Christmas season. I know I got tickled as we were singing one of the songs in the old-fashioned pictures up there. And the picture of the Christmas tree with the silver tinsel. How many of us remember that? My dad made us put it on one piece of tinsel at a time. How many? Yeah. Oh, my Lord. And when he wouldn't look, man, we'd just throw that stuff up there. It's like, we did not do that in our household, I will say that. Okay, so last week we talked about angels. And we talked about the fact that angels are mentioned around 300 times in the Bible, and so I think that's something relevant for us to have focused on. And they were messengers of news, they were messengers of good news, they were protectors, they were comforters, and they were nudgers. And, of course, in the Christmas story, we know that angels played a huge part. And I love because after service last week and throughout the week, many of you began to tell me your stories about your experiences with angels. And I hope that you'll continue to tell me because they were so wonderful. And I do hope that at least it inspired us to start opening ourselves up to this realm of support that we have, that we often don't think about. And I had somebody just tell me today, I just hadn't really thought about it much before. So it's, they're here for us. And so I hope that you are kind of opening up to that. So this week, we're going to focus on love and connection. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to start out by sharing what a group of 4 to 8-year-olds had to say when they were asked, what does love mean? Rebecca, age 8, said, when my grandmother got arthritis, she couldn't bend over and paint her toenails anymore, so my grandfather does it for her all the time, even when his hands got arthritis too. That's love. Billy, age 4, and I thought this was profound out of a 4-year-old. When someone loves you, the way they say your name is different. You just know that your name is safe in their mouth. Isn't that precious? Carl, age 5, says love is when a girl puts on perfume and a boy puts on shaving cologne and they go out and smell each other. Kind of true, isn't it? Yeah. Nikki, age 6, says, if you want to learn to love better, you should start with a friend that you don't like. Wow. Karen, age 7, when you love somebody, your eyelashes go up and down and little stars come out of you. It kind of feels like that, doesn't it? Those first stages of love. Jessica, age 8, said, you really shouldn't say I love you unless you mean it, but if you mean it, you should say it a lot. And then Leo Buscaglia, who's an author, he once judged a contest to find the most caring child. And so the winner was a 4-year-old child whose next-door neighbor was an elderly gentleman who had recently lost his wife. And upon seeing this man crying, this little boy went into the old gentleman's yard, climbed up onto his lap, and he just sat there. And when his mother asked him what he had said to his neighbor, the little boy said, nothing, I just helped him cry. And that's love, isn't it? So love, to me, that's really what the Christmas story is about. It's about love. And what I want to remind us is that the Christmas story is our story, and it's our story in so many ways. And in Unity, we see this story and as obviously the celebration of the birth of Jesus, but as celebrating the birth or the emergence of the Christ Spirit within each and every one of us. So first I'm going to just focus a little bit on Mary and her relevance to this whole concept of love. So what we know is in the Christmas story, Mary was visited by the angel Gabriel, and he came to give her good news that she was going to have this child. And of course, now didn't use these words in the Bible, but Mary was kind of freaked out about that because she's a virgin. And of course, the angel said, don't worry about it. Everything is going to be fine. But how we're going to use the word virgin today is, and actually what it meant anyway was a maiden or unwedded girl or woman. That's what a virgin meant at that time. But how we're going to use it today is in the context of purity, pure and unadulterated. And when we went through the breaking the 10 commandments, we talked about the adulteration of our consciousness. And so we want to create a pure and unadulterated consciousness. So in his book, The Way of the Christ, by Donald Curtis, he says, Christmas is a personal experience. It's the celebration of the birth of the Christ light within us. And in order to experience the true Christmas, in order to experience the birth of the Christ light within us, we must prevent a virgin consciousness, a mind that is pure, and a heart that is filled with true feelings of love, faith, and peace. Now, how many of us know that our lives would be so much better and we would feel a lot better, a lot better if on a consistent basis we had that consciousness? Yes? We wouldn't be getting all pinged and dinged and buttons pushed all the time. We would be walking in this state. And I think that's really where we want to be. We just aren't always there, right? Anybody can admit that? Yeah, okay. So what we do know about Mary is that at the age of 3, she was dedicated, consecrated to God in the temple. And what the scripture says is she remained there until the age of 12, so increasing in virtue that the angels ministered to her. Metaphysically, Mary represents the soul that magnifies the Lord daily in the temple, and through its devotions prepares itself for the higher life. So what Mary represents to me is really the first great commandment, which is love the Lord your God with all your heart, your soul, your mind, and your strength. And that when we align our minds, our hearts, our souls, and our strength with loving God, then we create the conditions, we create the environment in ourselves for the love to be born in us, as us, and through us. You know, to me, this is the being born again aspect of what is talked about. It's not having to accept Jesus Christ as your personal Savior. It's recognizing that, hey, I can choose and I can practice and I can allow that love that is the Christ love to be born in me, as me, and through me, so I can show up more consistently from that place. So when we open ourselves up, and here's the cool thing, so that there's the first great commandment, love God. The second commandment, Jesus said, is like unto itself. So it's like, this is also how we do it, by loving our neighbor as we love ourselves. So we bring the love ourselves first because we have to love ourselves in order to truly love our neighbor. Well, it goes right with the first commandment, because when we are loving God, when we are opening ourselves to just feeling the presence of the love of God, we cannot help ourselves but be filled up with that love. And when we are filled up with that love, that helps us then to love our neighbors in a pure way, right? So, but when I say love our neighbors, really what this is about is that we love God's creation. And here I want to say, if you don't resonate with the word God, that's okay. Put whatever word you want to put in there. For our purposes today, we're talking about God. I've made friends with the concept of God, the word itself. So here's what I want to share. Neighbors doesn't just mean human beings. There's a lot that we could focus on here, and I'm going to focus on just a few things today. Certainly, and we're going to talk about the importance of loving our neighbors, but let's also recognize that creatures of the land, water, and air are our neighbors, and that we have a responsibility to care for them and to love them. And I'm going to tell you this, the vast majority of the problems that these creatures have come from us. Yes, we can agree with that. But what gives me hope is that, I see these wonderful stories, read these wonderful stories, hear about them, of people who are creating sanctuaries to take care of animals that maybe have been abused or used for purposes that were not for their highest and best, and give them an opportunity to live out the rest of their lives in a place where they're safe and where they're free from harm. And then, of course, all of the organizations that are doing their best to decrease the amount of animals that are moving into extinction. And have you all seen some of these stories? My friends, that's love. That's love. That's showing up and loving our neighbors. And there are a lot of things that we could do to love our creatures more. And I'm not going to go into that right now. We'll do that when we get into Planet Unity and all that. Well, Earth Day. Okay, so this takes us to the second thing, which is that the natural world is our neighbor, our planet. Mother Earth, this environment. What grade do you think we might be getting on the report card right now about how we're loving Mother Earth? You don't have to say it. Because I don't want to set us up for guilt, because that's not what this is about. Because I do believe that there are definite cycles to our planet, to our universe, to everything. There are definite cycles. And I think we can all agree that we have not treated this grand and glorious Mother Earth in the best way that we possibly can. And we are feeling the effects of that, aren't we? We absolutely are. So one of the things that we did here at Unity was we created this cool thing called Planet Unity, which is our biggest event that we hold every year. And so I want to tell you a little backstory about this. We were thinking about something that we could do as a spiritual community, that we could reach out to the community at large and bring education and to them and to us through fun, through music, and through just all the different things that we do with Planet Unity. And what we realized is we had been really moving into this place of having at one of our top values as being taking care of our Mother Earth, taking care of the planet. And so then out of that came, hey, why don't we do an event every year that focuses on how we can take better care of our Earth? And are we in our 6th year this year, Lisa? 6th year. And I think we only missed one full year of actually getting to do the full Planet Unity thing. Our goal, like I said, was to educate our community and ourselves about how we could become better stewards of our planet through reducing, through reusing, recycling, through composting, through planting native plants for the bees and for the butterflies, through changing out lights in almost the entire church. You're going to notice that we have all LED lights everywhere, I think, except in the kitchen, and that'll get changed out too. But we've been doing our part. I want to tell you a couple things we did for our shelter. Instead of purchasing paper products to use, we decided to buy Corelle dishes that are really thin. They're practically unbreakable. We have a new dishwasher, so that's like one step that we took. We're using all regular silverware now. We encourage you to use the cups, the regular cups when you drink some coffee. But and many, many, many other things that we've done here in our spiritual community. So here's what I want to say about that. You can do something to make a difference. And if you feel that you cannot physically do something now, then I want to encourage you to pray. Pray for our planet, and pray that there are solutions that are brought forward, that this planet will be a healthy, thriving, habitable planet for generations and generations and generations to come. I have grandchildren who will someday have great-grandchildren, and I know most of us do. I want this planet to be a thriving planet for the generations to come. So that's another way that we can love, yes, is through loving our planet. And of course, our neighbors, people. And here's what I want to say about this. When Jesus said that you should love your neighbors, he wasn't talking about just our white neighbor. He wasn't talking about just our straight neighbor. He wasn't talking about just our male neighbor. He wasn't talking about just our wealthy neighbor. And he wasn't talking about just our educated neighbor. Nope. He was talking about everyone. He said, love your neighbor. That means that there is no separation. There's no exclusions to the people that we are here to love. Amen. Thank you. Thank you. Because I think that is so important, and it's a message that needs to go out beyond these walls, that loving our neighbor is not exclusionary in any way, that we love all people. And so one of the things that I want to do here is I want to show you a video. Now, I'm going to tell you that this is a video for alcohol, but it's the premise of the video that touched my heart and soul. And that is an issue that keeps coming up in our country. And I think it's high time for us to get past these issues of separation. So if we can show that video.
Forget a trace of pleasure or regret, maybe my treasure or the price I have to pay. She may be the song that summer sings, maybe the chill that autumn brings, maybe 100 different things within the measure of a day.
Beautiful. That's love. That's love, my friends. That's love. When, I love that they used a grandfather in this to show that generational gap and how we can come to that place where we can just love each other for who we are. God didn't create mistakes. God did not create any mistakes. And so to open ourselves up, and the reason that I I saw that on Facebook, and I was like, I have to share that because we're talking about love today. And we have to be the ones, we have to be the voice for those that are not able to have that voice for themselves. We have to be the ones to stand up for them and to stand out for them. So I'm so grateful that that was shared. Now, obviously, other ways that we show our neighbors love, Paul and I were talking last night about there are a lot of people who live alone, and people who live alone a lot of times and don't really get out much. And he was telling me that there was a period of time when he lived alone out in this remote area way east of here. And he would come in for something called contra dances into Springfield. And he said the thing about that was that because he lived alone, he didn't get physical touch. And he said to just have somebody touch him made all the difference in the world. And I want to say this, don't assume people want to be touched. You need to ask if somebody wants to be hugged. You need to ask if somebody wants to be touched. But I think that what you'll find, especially when you're finding, especially some of the older people, but just people in general who live alone, that they would really love a hug, and that's a really great way to reach out to people. I have to tell you too, just as the Daily Word was saying, just get out there and be kind, be good to people, share joy. So last week after church, I stopped at Aldi's. And, I got my cart full of stuff. I get in line. There's like 8 people in line for one cashier. And then this cashier comes out and says, hey, I'm going to open up this line. So I'm standing right here at the line that's going to get open. And I say to the couple people in front of me, hey, why don't you guys go first? And, they're like, no, you go. I go, no, go. So this lady goes in front of me, and she's like, thank you. Well, I turn around, and I happen to notice there was an older man with a cane, and he had a couple heavy things. And I said, sir, why don't you go in front of me too? Here was the thing. That was just a simple thing that most of us would do, right? This woman, it was comical. She goes, who are you? Are you Santa Claus? I think we have Santa Claus right here in Aldi's. And it was just like, one of those moments you're like, oh. The thing about that for me was that I don't want that to be the exception to the rule anymore for us, where somebody is so shocked by an act of kindness that it's like, oh my gosh, this person did something nice. This is our opportunity to be out there and to be this love and this joy, this kindness, this compassion, this connection, this oneness in the world around us. To recognize, are you somebody who goes along with your head down and, bring yourself open up your heart, smile at people. You'll be amazed at how many people will smile back at you if you smile at them. Yeah. So get out there and be the lights that we know ourselves to be, and emanate this Christ love from within you. Now, one of the ways that we are supporting our neighbors, and the vast majority of you know this, is through our shelter, our crisis cold weather shelter. Now, I want to tell you that I have told dozens upon dozens upon dozens of people that in the 34 years that I have been here, this is one of the best things that we've ever done in our ministry, was opening this crisis cold weather shelter. And in that, the first year that we opened this, I sat back so many times and just witnessed this outpouring of love from our spiritual community, from the Brentwood neighborhood community, and from our friends and family who stepped up in high ways to do what they could do to support this shelter, to be there for people. Can you imagine? Just even this last week, I thought so many times about I was cold in my house. And then I would stop and think, but I'm in my house. I can put more clothes on. I can put a blanket on. I can heat up a hot pack. And there are hundreds and hundreds of people out there that are just having to find a place to sleep, someplace, in the city that's outside. So I am so grateful and I'm so proud of our ministry for stepping up in this way. Now, I'm going to tell you that we're coming up on a pretty cold patch of weather. It looks to be like unending right now. It doesn't have an end time as I look on the forecast. So please, if you can possibly volunteer in any way for our cold weather shelter, and especially for overnights, we would appreciate that, because here's the thing. If we don't have overnighters, we can't open our shelter. And that's like 30 to 35 people who won't have a warm place to sleep. So please open your heart on that. But that is love, yes? That is love. Charles Fillmore, you'll never get through a talk about love with me. Anybody who knows me all these years knows that's where I'm going to go. That love is the pure essence of being that binds the whole human family together. It is the power that joins and binds in divine harmony the universe and everything in it. It is the great harmonizing principle known to man. And he goes on to say that divine love is impersonal. I can't go on, I guess. Oh, thank you. It loves for the sake of loving. This is one of my favorites. It's not concerned with who or what it loves, nor is it concerned with a return of love. That its joy is in the shining forth of its nature. So we love because that is what we are called to do. We are here to be love. Now, I love Christmas movies. How many of us love Christmas movies? And some of my favorites are the old ones, or the ones where, you've seen the movies where love transforms an individual. And, they touch and they inspire us. They remind us about the power of love. And even though they're fictional stories like The Grinch or Scrooge or something like that, they resonate with us because it's the truth of our being. Because we know that love has the ability to, if we love somebody, so let me go on to this one, because this is the other part of his quote, is love is an inner quality that sees good everywhere and in everybody, and it insists that all is good, and by refusing to see anything but good, it causes that quality to finally appear uppermost in itself and in all things. So when we are willing to look past the facade, does anybody have any people show up in their life kind of like the Grinch or the Scrooge, or somebody, whose heart's been shrunk and they're just, grumpy? And love is what will transform that. And here's the thing. If you choose to love somebody in that way and they don't transform, that doesn't mean that you should quit loving them in that way. It just means that they are so wounded inside of themselves. It just means that they have no self-love inside of them. That the longer that we choose to see that they are the beautiful Christed beings that we know that they are, sooner or later, something will open up in them. So it's that important for us to do. So the question today is, who's calling you to love in a higher way? Who's calling you to love in a bigger way? Who's calling you to step outside of your comfort zone, or step outside of the idea of being vulnerable? Ooh, what a word that is, to be vulnerable. But to open yourself up to just allowing that love to be who you are. So we are going to close today, and I'm going to invite you, if you like, to share in this with me. First of all, I want to read to you 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 7, because it tells us what love is. Love is patient, love is kind, it is not envious or boastful or arrogant or rude. It doesn't insist on its own way, it's not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails. It says that faith, hope, and love abide, but the greatest of these is love. The greatest of these is love. So this next part was written by a woman named Karen Shepard, and I just love this so much. So I'm hoping you're going to love this as much as I do, and let's join in saying it together. Because love is patient, slow to judge, but quick to listen, hesitant to criticize, and eager to encourage. May I remember to be patient with myself and others. Because love is kind, may my words be gentle and my actions be thoughtful. May I remember to smile and say please and thank you. The little things mean so much. Because love is not envious or boastful, arrogant or rude, may I have a heart that is humble and sees the good in others. May I celebrate and appreciate all that I have and all that I am, as well as doing the same for those around me. Because love does not insist on its own way, may I speak words that are easy on the ear and on the heart. When I am tempted to get wrapped up in my own little world, may I remember there's a great big world out there full of needs and hurts. Because love is not irritable or resentful, may I forgive myself and others. When I want to hold on to a grudge, may it gently come into my awareness so I may release it and reach out in love. Because love does not delight in wrongdoing, but rejoices in truth, may I stand in truth and act from principle. May I defend the defenseless and help the helpless. Through right action, I make a difference. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. May I be a refuge for those around me. When the world outside is harsh and cold, may my heart be a place of acceptance and warmth. Love never fails. I am thankful to be celebrating love. May I see love in all beings and every situation. I'm thinking that's something that we could read every morning and go out into our world having read that. I love that so much. So your homework, if you choose to accept it, is to be who you really are. And that is to go out and be these big, bright, brilliant beams of radiant love. Of radiant love. Go out this week and give that love in higher and bigger ways than you ever have. And I promise you, you know what's going to happen? It's going to come back to you, pressed down, shaken together, running over, and oozing out. And so it is. Namaste. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you. So as and is coming back up, and our ushers are coming forward. Before we get right into this, I do, for those of you who are not on our connection group, and by the way, if you are on Facebook, we do have a Unity of Springfield connection group. If you would like to be on that, it keeps you up on things that are going on here. Super excited because our kitchen is getting repainted